Welcome to yet another week. I'm just in the house waiting for Will, who's behind me in there, because we're about to start our building the canopy now for our new generator, which is coming this week actually, so hopefully by the end of this vlog, all being well, you will see the new generator and it'll all be completed. We spent the morning felling some dead trees, some big dead trees down by the drive to help tidy that up and make it safer. We stopped for a bite of lunch and now in the afternoon we're moving on to beginning work on this project. So it's quite a cloudy day, it's a bit gloomy, we don't have much daylight left, so we may not achieve terribly much today, but fingers crossed tomorrow is when we'll really break the back of this project in advance of the generator, which is due to arrive on Thursday, as I say, all being well. We're starting the project by finishing off the slab, which is set but now has water on it. So we thought we'd put a couple of drainage holes in the frame to help prevent the water sitting there. And then I've got 4 bags of this gravel and we're going to use however many of those, maybe all 4 of them, to put a layer of gravel on top of this to help the generator nestle in and not move about so much. You know, bags of gravel are surprisingly hard to come by in Australia. It's funny, these cultural differences. They seem to expect you to have a trailer and you just put the gravel in your trailer. Gravel sort of comes loose. I only stumbled across these by chance really, and this is what plumbers use for drainage ditches. Anyway, them's the breaks. We have the gravel, and as you may well be aware, for most of our projects like this, most of the materials we'll be using we already had or have, or we've acquired from people who have stuff. So this is yet another project we're doing on the cheap. Really all we've had to buy for this canopy project is the pre-mixed concrete and the gravel, and everything else we've begged or borrowed or already had, which is how we like it when we try to keep costs down as much as possible, yet keep things moving forward on the property as much as we can. Whilst we're here, I'll just quickly describe to you what we're intending on doing. So originally we were just going to build a little hutch really for the generator, but Will's decided he'd like to extend the roof line and have basically a little sort of lean-to affair with some slats of wood to protect the generator from that side. So it'll provide a little bit more protection for stuff here, but also protect the generator. There we go, stage 1 complete. Drainage holes drilled and gravel down. Approved by Will, he's tested it by stamping on it. Nice and firm. Ready for our generator, which no doubt weighs a lot more than Will. There you saw the post hole digger in action. We put a smaller auger bit on this time than we did when we put up our mailbox post, because these posts are a bit smaller. But they're up now, just up loosely. So you can see what we're going to do is build a frame and then attach a corrugated metal extending this roof line. Not all the way along, so it won't go all the way to the end. So you can see it'll stop here, but then we've got a little space here where we will put a water butt eventually to collect the rain off the roof, which currently is lacking drain pipes. We're quite pleased with that. It's very, very cold now. Evening's fast approaching. Will's coming up the hill in the car. so we can take this back down the hill. We pushed it up, but it's very heavy and we're worried that the momentum will carry it away with us, so we're going to drive it down because it's got a tow bar at the other end. Hopefully we'll get this project almost finished tomorrow, and I'll catch up with you then. The frost has long since melted to be replaced by rain. Anyway, I'm undercover because I am looking at my chainsaw. I've just been sharpening them. We did some felling yesterday, as I mentioned. I sharpened the Husqvarna and I've come down to now look at the Ryobi. You can see how warm the teeth have got. Some of them are just tiny little nubs. Now I do know that in theory these should all be the same size, but as you can see there's quite a lot of variety, but that's by the by. I'm aware of it, but I don't sharpen my chainsaws to that degree of accuracy. But I'm thinking, there possibly is still a little bit of life in this, but not a lot, not with the Australian hardwoods that I chainsaw through. So I'm thinking I might just replace the chain rather than sharpen it, which leads me on to this. I was in town, as you'll have seen last week, and when I was there, I went to get a replacement chain for this Ryobi chainsaw, but I noticed that Bunnings, the shop I went to, started selling Ryobi brand chainsaw chains, which they hadn't had before. So I've been using this brand. I bought this one a while ago. I always like to have a spare, but because I knew I was going to be changing this one for a new one, I then like to have a spare. Be prepared. Anyway, so I saw this and I thought, well, maybe I'll give this a go. And as you may know, we find the Ryobi stuff's a bit hit and miss. It's not the best quality. And then by the same token, neither's this chain. Twice now I've been chainsawing away and the chain snapped. And that has never, ever, ever happened with the Husqvarna brand chains that we use on the Husqvarna chainsaw. So I thought, there's not much in it price-wise. I have this one if this goes terribly, terribly wrong. But I thought I'd give this one a try. I like the tin it comes in. It's really cool. Anyway, I was very, very careful to make sure all the details matched. It's very easy to buy the wrong chain because all of these numbers already matter and they're all, subtly different. But anyway, hopefully this is the right chain and I'm now going to attempt to put it on the chainsaw, which I won't film because it's tricky, and if it goes wrong, I don't want you to laugh at me. Just in case you're interested, we're up bright and early this morning. Dawn's just breaking because, yet again, it's chimney sweeping time. And in fact, this might not be the only time we do it over winter, because keeping the range going overnight does put up a lot of soot in the chimney, and the range is quite a delicate little machine, in spite of how it looks. It likes its lungs cleaned out quite frequently. So, yes, this may be the first of the 3 times you have to sweep it over winter, but this is its quarterly sweep. Just to let you know, just to keep you updated with the gentle rhythms of our life here. But this is why I look awful. I only just got up. It's not yet 7, so Will started, so I better get back to it. Good morning again. Chimney swept and day has come, so that means, as you can see, I'm up in the woods behind my house, continuing with Operation Tree Thinning / generating plenty of firewood to get us through winter. I have successfully managed to put the new Ryobi chain on my chainsaw, and I thought I'd bring you up here so we can see how it goes cutting down its first tree. Now obviously a brand new chain hasn't been used before is always going to be an excellent chain, but nevertheless I'll get a feel for how well it can go through the woods compared to the chainsaw chain I'd been using previously, and then I'll let you know what I think. Well, suffice it to say, that was pretty successful. It munched through that not insignificant tree. It's one of the bigger ones, not the biggest, but one of the bigger ones up here. Just by the by, the trees that I'm thinning tend to be very, very small trees that were never going to amount to much anyway, but are blocking out the light. Anyway, by the by, as I say, it chewed through that tree, so at least for now, the new Ryobi chainsaw chain has proven to be very successful. Forgive my appearance, I haven't had time to go back to the house yet and wash my face because I am right at the top of our property, right at the top of the Firebreak, which is just down there in front of me. So we don't often come up here because if you've ever visited me, it's a long walk, all uphill. Anyway, work needs doing even up here, so I'll quickly spin you around and just quickly go over what I've been up to, and then hopefully when Will gets home in a bit we'll finish off what we can of the new cover, the new shed for the generator, and then I'll give you an update on that also. So I'm right at the top of our Firebreak. I know it's hard to see, but it goes down and down and down and down and down all the way to our house. The reason that it's hard to see is that quite a long time ago I re-established this Firebreak. It had become completely overgrown and it's on the verge of the same thing happening again. Mostly though, that's the consequence of the bushfire again, regenerating all this acacia, which wasn't here before. It's obviously been dormant in the soil, and it's one of those plants that requires the effects of fire, so I'm not sure if it's direct heat or if it's the ash and the acidic nature of the soil that causes it to spring to life. Either way, what wasn't here before is now here con gusto. So this is our fence line, and then this is our back fence line, and what I've done is fill the Brumby with vegetation that I have cleared from this portion of the Firebreak. So it did look like this after I'd cleared it a few years ago, and then it started to look like that. I've come up here and I thought I'll start right at the very top, because in some respects this is the bit that gets neglected most because it's the hardest to get to and the furthest away from the house. However, as you can see, the Brumby gets all the way up here, which means that I can now bash through the rest of this project really, really quickly. And what that's going to entail is pushing the vegetation this side back towards the fence, and then pushing the vegetation this side back to the tree line. So yes, these trees are very, very pretty, but I can assure you we've literally got hundreds of thousands of them now. So just taking out this sort of this slither here isn't really going to affect too much the property. It'll still pretty much look the same, but it'll just be that little bit safer. So as you can see, it's gone very wild. I've probably only really got about half the Firebreak left to go, because I started at the bottom and started working my way up. But I've decided, having walked up here a while ago when we had guests, it's worse up here than I realised. So I've decided now to start at the back and work my way down, and I'll meet myself in the middle. And then hopefully I'll have a very attractive, usable and slightly safer Firebreak. And that's what it looks like looking back up at what I have done. Anyway, I'll leave you there, and all being well, I'll catch up with you again shortly when I can show you our progress on our generator shed. I've just been watching this week's vlog back for editing purposes, and I realised that realistically I'm not going to get the chance, hello Vita, to share with you the progress we've made on the cover for the generator this week. And now I kept referring to it and teasing you with it, but unfortunately I like to keep the vlogs relatively short because I recognise in being, as they are, a celebration of the mundane and the ordinary, and a recognition that normal life without bells and whistles is fine. The trade-off of that is that I don't expect you to sit through 45 minutes of that. So I try to keep them short so that you don't have to invest too much of your life watching someone just doing boring stuff. Anyway, so all that to say that if you want the big reveal of the cover for the generator, tune in next week. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and it'll be worth waiting for if you like sheds. Anyways, I'll catch up with you next week. I hope you have wonderful weekends, and I'll see you soon. Bye.